Alrighty, today we're working on this 16 horse V-twin Briggs Vanguard. This is going to be the new engine that's going in my white GT1855. The old one threw a rod. Eventually I might try and rebuild that, but I had this one sitting around, so we're going to see what we can do with it. It runs just fine, needs a few gaskets, so that's what we're doing today. I had the sump off already and replaced the crank seal there. I don't know if anybody needs a part number or anything for that. You can get it off the internet pretty much anywhere, but you can also get it from Napa. This is the package that it comes in. I believe the Napa part number is SME704071. I picked up 2 of them just in case, because when I ordered the gasket set I totally marred the one that came in there. But anyway, it's on there, it's installed, and now I'm moving on to the head gaskets and the upper end gasket. So we're going to go ahead and start working on that. I already have the head off here. I've cleaned everything up as sufficiently as I guess I see fit. Good enough anyway. It's a lawnmower engine, whatever. I wiped all the carbon off of the top of the piston, and I don't know if you'll be able to see it pretty well, but the walls of the cylinder actually look pretty good. There's still some visible cross-hatching in there. I've pulled engines apart before that were running just fine where there's absolutely no cross-hatching left whatsoever. So I've got confidence that this one should last me a decent amount of time anyway. It was free, so if it runs for a year, that's great. So I've got the head off here. Rocker arms, push rods, rocker studs all disassembled. Trying to keep everything as organized as I possibly can. I'm not really doing any hardcore work to this thing, I'm just replacing gaskets. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this head cleaned up, throw the new gasket on there, and torque everything back down. Alright, I was wrong. This engine was manufactured with the metal cylinder head gaskets, so I'm going to go ahead and grab those and put them on there. Alright, I finished up that other cylinder head. I'm just going to replace the breather gaskets here, because apparently those have a part to play, and could have a part to play in how it was puking oil out the air filter. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. I'll check in with you when I'm all finished. It's really nothing to it. You just pull the bolts out, place the gaskets, torque it back down 30 inch-pounds, so not too interesting. I got a lot done off camera here. A little bit of wiring left to do. I think when I left off, I was just finishing up changing the gaskets out on the breather. Not anything really exciting happening since then. This whole carburetor intake assembly I had already taken apart, cleaned. Didn't require any new gaskets except for the intake gaskets that match up to the heads. I got that bolted up, put on the cylinder guards here and the valley cover, installed the choke, got that working. That wasn't installed properly the first time. I'm thinking that this thing was on the back of like a salter, you know, those big like salt bins that people put in the back of their pickup trucks, you know, for like plow businesses and stuff, just because of how rusty everything was, the covers and everything, but who knows, that's just my guess. But it cleaned up pretty well. It's not perfect, got a little bit left to do. I got the governor installed, all the linkages hooked up. The only thing I really have to do is finish up that wiring, put oil in it. I have to clean up the front cover here. I'm going to take the recoil off of it because to put it in that white, I have to get the front PTO shaft adapter that bolts onto here. It allows you to put a pulley on the front of it, because on those tractors the crankshaft bolts up, well, not bolts up, but fits up to a drive shaft that runs the charge pump for the hydrostatic transmission, and then everything else is driven off of a pulley on the front of the engine. It just has one PTO, one front PTO, and then everything else was driven off of it with various sized drive shafts. So eventually, if I'm going to make that work, I have to get that shaft. That's like $120 some, I think. But, not too much left to do here before I can try and fire it up. Like I said, I pretty much just have to finish that wiring, clean up that front shroud, and get that put on there, and then should be able to fire it up. But I kind of lost track of time here. I've been out in the garage for almost a full day, so I guess I'm going to call it quits here, and I'll fire it up in the next one. Alrighty, I just finished reassembling that 16-horse Vanguard. For the most part anyway, got it back to the point that I could at least try and start it. This is the aftermath here. I checked it for spark using my nifty little spark checker tool that you can pick up for $2 at Harbor Freight. The thing's really kind of useless. It doesn't, I mean, unless you really don't want to take the spark plug out of the cylinder head, there's like what's the point? But I guess in some cases that's kind of useful, but anyway, I got it all back together here, ready to go with the ignition key where it needs to be. I got my mess of wiring taken care of. It just looks like a mess. There's really not much to these as far as the wiring goes at all, and I got it hooked up to the old Jeep car battery here that has been sitting around for like 6 years now, but still good enough to fire off this engine. So the only thing that I was really worried about is the flywheel nut. I don't know, I mean, without buying whatever they are, the flywheel strap wrenches for holding the flywheel and torquing it down, I don't know how I would have gotten that torque down to whatever it was, 125 foot-pounds. I just don't have any way of holding it, so I just ran that back on there with an impact, and hopefully it'll hold. It should. I don't see why it would come off, but who knows. So I just filled it with oil, put the exhaust on, put the fuel pump on, and then a short chunk of line. I don't think that's gonna actually reach my fuel tank here. If the fuel pump even works, it should, but it probably needs to be primed too. I don't know if those need to be primed or not, but anyway, I'm just going to dribble a little bit of fuel down the carb here, and we will try and see what she does. Whenever I'm doing anything like this, where there's fuel and battery involved, there's any possible chance of a fire, I always like to have the handy fire extinguisher nearby. I don't think I'm going to use that. Alright, let's give this a shot. See what she does. Anyway, as I was saying, the next step, we're going to have to start doing a couple of mock-ups and see what we can do as far as mounting it in the front of this white here. And then I'll hook up the drive shaft and some fuel lines, and I might even go so far as to actually wire it in and make it look kind of permanent. I just don't know what is going to be up with that rear end and that hydrostatic pump. Hopefully nothing. Hopefully it's all going to be good to go and I can just pop this engine in here and I'll have a functioning tractor, but we'll find out. All part of the process, I guess. All I can do is just keep hacking away at it and see what happens. So for now, that's the end of this video. I'll keep you guys updated next time I'm working on this. Might even be this weekend, who knows. Hopefully I'll have some time. Not sure what it's going to take to get it mounted in there. I know the bolt holes are definitely different, but I have a welder, so we'll figure something out. Thanks for watching.